Hello everyone. Sorry here. Thank you so much for joining me. This is another Craft Roulette submission, and this is for number 115. I decided I would play along again. I really do enjoy Craft Roulette. If you want to try to use products in your stash and you don't know what you want to create, definitely join Craft Roulette because it is fun. The people there are very friendly. I personally haven't had a chance to join, but I do watch the replays and they have a lot of fun there. And they create 4 parameters that are randomly selected with the spin of a wheel, and you create based on these parameters. And it's a lot of fun. And I do decide to focus my time on this just because it really helps me learn how to create as well as using up stash that I have. So that's why I enjoy doing it. And it's a great service that is being provided. And I highly recommend everyone just check it out to see if it piques your interest. The parameters today, or sorry, for 115 is it needs to have a diagonal cut. It has to have sky view colors, so that can be, use your imagination, but I imagine if it's a clear skies, then that's blue. Then you have your evenings, so pinks, oranges, purples, reds, all that. I'm not sure if green counts, but when I think of a sky view, I think of meadows and sky. So I am going to really stretch and think green is okay. I need a farm element, and it needs to have partial image. So what that means is that if you have any image, most likely a stamp, it needs to be partially cut off. The only stamp that I have that is farm related is this chicken here who is blowing a bubble with gum. That's the only farm. If I want to think of like a hobby farm or an actual farm, I mean, you can go tree farm and stuff like that. But I thought this was kind of fun, and you know, why not? Why not play with that? So I am going to stamp this, and I'm going to use some alcohol markers because I want to practice that skill as well. I really love coloring, both watercolors and alcohol markers, but you know, I'll pick, actually maybe I'll use watercolors too, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm just going to use some Memento ink. This is, I think it's permanent, so it's really nice for water or for alcohol markers. It won't bleed. And I'm going to do it one more time because sometimes, like I said, I'm still learning how to color. So in case I make a mistake, I have a backup. Okay, so I've tested all these colors. I think these are the colors that I want. We'll see. I'm going to start off easy. I'm just going to do my chicken legs. I'm just going to fast forward this about 8 times the speed, and instead of trying to fit in some music, I'm just going to chit chat for 30 so many seconds until this is finished coloring. But as you can see, it's pretty basic, not focusing too much on high quality shading. I'm just coloring it once and then filling it in with a very subtle color, and then adding a bunch of dots here and there just to give it a little bit of texture. Add a little bit up here. And there we go. We have a chicken. We have a chicken. I'm just going to add a little bit more dots now that it's dried a bit. You won't really see it, but it's just enough that because you're adding another layer. Chicken. Okay. And I'm going to fussy cut this now. Okay, so I fussy cut him out. There we go. And I'm just going to put him aside And then I'm going to work on a background. So I'm going to be using these two inks here. One is Tumble Glass and the other one is Broken China. I believe Broken China is a little bit darker, so we'll start with the Tumbled Glass. And I'm just going to kind of cover this whole thing, trying to get it as smooth as possible. Okay, and then I'll grab my Simon Says paw mat that I got in a kit one time. I think it's so cute. And then I'm going to use a brush. The only reason I'm switching to a brush is because I have a blue brush and I don't use brushes on the Oxides. I heard that it's not the best to switch, and I don't have dedicated Oxide brushes. So I'm just going to go on the outside. I'm not going to go too far in. I just want the outside perimeter to be a little bit darker. Okay, so now we have that. The next thing is I'm going to have some fun, and this is where I'm going to use my watercolor. I have this paste, this texture paste that I never play with. Like I've played with a little bit, but I always forget about it. And it's just a Distress Impulse texture paste. And I'm going to take a little brush and I'm just going to scoop out some of this. I don't know how much I need. Probably not that much, but I'm going to take it anyways. And then I have these Altenew watercolor markers. And I'm just going to add some color to this. So this is going to be a lime green. I'm just going to mix that in. It's going to look kind of yellow at first. It is a very bright green. I like this green a lot. Okay, so now that I've mixed my green, I hope that's green enough. I kind of turn off all my lights, so I can't really tell how green that is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stencil. It's just a grass stencil. And I'm going to go on an angle and I'm going to fill this in. Before I do that, let me just tape this on so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to carefully, hopefully this does not wreck it, kind of just cover this little hole. I'm not going to press hard on that. I just don't want any color to get on those clouds. This is the only reason I don't like holes in the stencil. It's nice to have the options, but a lot of times it doesn't. It frustrates me. But so then I'm just going to fill this in, and I'm going to put a good coating on it. I'm not going to be skimpy, but I also am not going to be careful to make sure that it's perfectly flat, if that makes sense. I'm not going to worry if there's lines in it or if it's not perfectly flush with the whole card. But I do want to keep some of it because I'm going to reuse it. Okay, and this is what our first layer is going to look like. Fun. So I'm going to work fast on this. I'm going to put this back down. I just use my heat gun just very subtly because I want to add another layer to this. Okay. And I'm adding that moss green back in there, and I'm going to create a darker shade. I kind of did this backwards. The darker shade should have been in the back. Now that I think about it, but that's okay. So I'm going to put the stencil back on again, but I'm going to have it a little bit lower. And I'm just going to be very careful because I don't want to smush. Ideally, you want wait to dry before you do another coat. So you're not going to be no chance of mixing. But because I'm doing a video, I'm going to try to get away with this. Okay, so I kind of screwed up a little bit, but I'm just going to see if I can fix this. What I did was actually put the color on, but it wasn't aligned properly. So I removed that from my video, and I'm just going to do this again, and hopefully it looks okay. And we'll just one more time. You won't know what I did wrong, but we'll see if I can fix it. So then that's the second layer that's a little bit darker green. I'm just going to lift that up. Yeah, I kind of messed it up, but that's okay. Kind of like that. I actually have one that's already done that I did before because I need to make sure that it was ready for my video. So I'll move to the better one. Unfortunately, because what I did was when I put the stencil down, I had it down too far so you couldn't see it, and then I tried to scrape it off, and that's why it got all funny. So that was the only reason. So follow the steps that I did, but just make sure that when you put the stencil on, you have it exactly where you want it. That's all I have to say. So I'm sorry that that turned out like that, but we'll keep moving forward. The steps are the exact same. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I didn't align it properly, and so the grass was too far down. That's all it was. Okay, so now that I've dried and cleaned everything, and this is still wet, I'm going to just continue on and just show you the next steps. Like I said, I've done this all already. I'm just trying to recreate it for the video, and I'm doing a really fast job. So I've already made one mistake. Let's see if I can limit that to just the one. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two clouds here. I think I'll just do it like this. And I'm just going to take some white, so nothing fancy. This is just the plain white, no color. And I'm just going to fill in these clouds. I could have glued that down just so that it doesn't move. Or not glued down. I could have taped it down so it doesn't move. But I'm not too worried about these. It's just two little clouds. You don't need to add this much. I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning. You definitely don't want to waste your product. I kind of like the thick layer, so that's why I'm going a little bit thick, but you don't need to. And then of course I keep going over it because I keep pulling it off. There we go. Nice and simple. Okay, so this is the dry one. This is the one I just created with you, and this is the dry one. So as you can see, no mess over here. This one I had to redo, made a mess, but I can still reuse it. It's still perfectly fine. Once it's dry, that's what I'll do. So here's my little scene. I have my little chicken. What I need to do now is it needs to be partial image, okay? That was one of the things, it has to be a partial image. So I am going to have to cut my chicken up. And I'm thinking that I'll just kind of glue it onto the card front. Just like that. Our bubblegum chewing rooster. It's the silliest stamp. I don't know why the rooster is chewing bubblegum. I don't get it. But who am I to judge if a rooster likes bubblegum? All the power to it. Okay, so now we have our rooster that is chopped off. So that is the partial image. That's also the farm image, sky colors, and now we need to have a diagonal cut. So what I'm thinking about is there's a sentiment here called I choose you, because obviously chewing bubblegum. And I'm going to use that as a sentiment, and I'm going to trim it so that it is a diagonal cut. Okay, and to make it a diagonal cut, all I need to do is do this. There we go. Kind of like that. That's kind of fun. Okay. So I will just glue that down like that. Okay, so I don't know if I've mentioned it, but I am creating a square card today, and it is measuring 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. One of the guests mentioned how much they loved square cards, and that kind of got me thinking about making square cards, to be honest. So I decided that I would give it a try for my submission this time. And actually, it's a lot of fun, square cards. I really like it. Unfortunately, it seems to waste more paper than an A2 size. The reason I like the A2 size is because I don't like to waste paper. But square cards are just really cute. For my black layer, I am going to glue it offset, so it's not going to be centered on this black sheet. I'm going to have it thin on one side and thick on the other. And then for my base, I just have a piece of blue cardstock that I got from, I believe, a Spellbinders card kit. I'm going to use some double adhesive tape just to make sure that it is down nice. Oops. That is really sticky tape. It just rips that paper right away. Put some here. And then one more piece right here. This is not moving anywhere. And then just remove the release paper. This card actually is very, very simple. It just has a couple steps that you need to wait till it dries. But the idea of it is actually very simple. Just make sure, like I said, that you put your stencil exactly where you want before you start layering your paste. And I'm just going to center this as best that I can. Okay, so there we go. Let's get our criteria back out here again. So we have our diagonal cut here. We have the sky colors, so the pinks, the reds, the oranges, brown is neutral, we're allowed to have. Green is a stretch, but when I think of sky, I think of sky and grass like the meadows, so I'm going to use it. White is a given, black is a given, blue, sky colors. Farm, rooster. You find roosters on a farm. And then the partial image is that the image, stamped image, is cut off. So there we go. This is my card I created for submission 115. So that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun creating this. I know that I kind of made a mess with the previous one, but as you can see, it's still usable. You could easily cover it with a sentiment or something to make it so that it's not so messy, but I mean, it has texture and stuff, so it kind of looks neat in that way. Just not what I was looking for. But once that dries, I can reuse that for another card. I had a lot of fun with this. Definitely got to play with a few things that I haven't played for a while, and so I'm happy with that, and I do hope that has created some inspiration for you to get out there and just be creative. Remember that it is nice to see what other people create, but always remember to take the time to do it ourselves. Sometimes I get hooked watching YouTube and then I don't actually do anything myself. Nothing wrong with watching some inspirational videos, but do please remember to just have some fun. Get your fingers dirty and just create. Once again, this is a Craft Roulette submission. Go to craftroulette.live if you'd like to learn more about it. It's a lot of fun. If you like to get creative, if you just even like to watch what other people have done, great place to go. I do hope you check it out and maybe partake if you find it interesting. So until the next time, take care, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.